system. Like we're gonna have the both the soundboard, which is the new digital mixer, and the A10 Mini, which is the video switcher, both at the front end of the platform. So both of them is over there physically. Right now, they will be controlled mainly by this guy, which is at the back of the gym. And then the screen will be displayed at the on the front and also on the pulpit, where you have a small monitor for the speaker to see what's being displayed on the projector. So for the first thing first, to power on the system, there is a switch at the bottom or near the rack, which is this guy. You should power this one first before you power the mixer on, because we want to start the Wi-Fi router, and it takes a little bit time to start the Wi-Fi router. So you power on that switch. That is the highlighted switch is a main switch for the entire platform. So you have to power that on too first, and then power on the mixer. Okay, that's the only thing that you have to watch out. And to power on the mixer, there is a switch under the QPAC that you can use. And to power it off is the reverse. But the first thing, you have to shut down the QPAC, which is the mixer, because it's almost like a computer. You have to shut it down first before you power off, and then you power off the main switch. So this is the switch beneath the mixer. So just to list out all the startup and shutdown sequence here. So the main thing is we have to watch out the Wi-Fi router, which is right on the surface of the stage, and also the power off of the QPAC before you power off. The mobile station at the back basically have 3 components here. The vertical screen have 2 components, which is what we need for. The way that we designated is the top portion is the EC worship, and the bottom is for the A10 Mini control. The third is the mixer control, which is on the right screen. The top monitor is really for duplicating the screen going to the A10 Mini or the projector, depending on what is the selection there. So basically, this is just a wiring diagram. Whatever control from the back is through the network. It's all through the network cable and controlling the QPAC and A10 Mini. The only thing wireless right now is the camera, which is we are using. That is using the HDMI wireless connection. Everything else is using a hard wire, so that is a more reliable connection than using the Wi-Fi. So any questions there? Okay. Oh yeah, that one has to. I think I need to put that in. At the end I will generate a startup checklist. So make sure that we are following the exact sequence. So. Okay, for the QPAC, the main thing is the digital mixer as comparing to the old analog mixer that you get in the Sanctuary. The good thing about this is right now, later on we'll go through it. It can be controlled using computer remotely, so you don't really need to have a mechanical soundboard. So you can see, you can either access this through the front panel, which is a touch screen, but the interface is a little bit cumbersome. It's very difficult to navigate the control through that. So we are going to go for a different control, which is a remote app that can run on a computer and iPad. So this is the control app that we're using called Mixing Station. By the way, this is a third-party software that is not coming from the manufacturer, but it is we found it is a lot better than the software came with the unit, because this guy can support multiple make and brands. So it's actually, if we ever change the mixer, the interface, you can maintain the same. So like I said, with the mixing station, you really don't need the touch screen control on the console. So it's a lot easier to play with. And also the fact that it supports many other different systems make it a lot easier. And also the software can run on many different platforms. So next I will go through a little bit of the general layout of the app. Okay. The first thing that you look at, which I have shown you just now, is really we should focus on is this app is laid out in different sections. The top section is really what we call the overview of the system, the overall system status. What that is you can see the little bar on at the top. They are basically indicating the current status of each of the channel. You can see there's a little white bar also. Those are the current fader level. And the green is the signal level. So the whole idea of that is it gives you a very quick view of the system at the current time. So it's very good for diagnostic. You can see at the far end here. The green one actually show you like where the pointer is the main system left and right output. So you can see signal there, and each of the bar can basically tell you whether the channel is active or not. So it gives you a quick view of what the current system is, okay? And you can see the white bar, which is represent the fader level. One thing that you have no signal, just like what we happened just now, is a good way to troubleshoot that. Okay, the next thing is the middle section here. The middle section here is really represent the status of a single channel. So this system have 16 channel plus some other auxiliary input. It's impossible to display all the channel at the same time. So that's why this highlighted areas is 4. So what it is it gives you the status of the current selected channel. And it has the default is give you an overview tab. And it have many different tabs, and I will go through it later on. And it's called gain, gate, and PEQ, the compressor, mix, and LR. LR is really the main left and right output of the system. That is the default output of the system. So what you see here, okay, let me go back. What you see up here on display is really the overview tab, and I will go through the detail of the other tabs later on. Like I said, that section is only display one channel. So the way to select which channel that you want to display is through the button on the above the fader. So if you press any of this button, this section here will display the status of that channel. So you can select any one. So usually you deal with only one channel at a time. If you want to go through this, the detailed information about this particular channel. So like we were playing with the mic 1 mix. So you have to go to the mic 1 and select it. So the bottom section is really the fader control. This is no different than your analog mixer. So the slider really is the way that you control the level of your fader or the loudness of each of the channel going into the system. So the good thing with a software control is this section of the fader control can be broken into layers, which means it's a logical grouping of different channels, basically. So what you see on the screen here is 1 to 16. That usually that's almost like a mechanical or analog mixer. Usually you have all 16 channels available on your board, and then that's how you set. With the digital mixer, what you have the option to do is you can see the 3 buttons there. The 3 buttons basically is what you call a layer select. What that means is you can determine, you can group the channel in the different groups. So, and by selecting a specific layer, you only display the channel that you want to see for that particular group. See, if you go to select the pulpit, for instance, then only the channel that is used for the pulpit will appear on that group, on the fader. So that is less confusing when you're doing control. It's a lot easier for handling it. So when you go to the band, then you will have only the mic and instrument channels that you need for the band. So basically, it's no different than what you see here right now, but it just gives you a subset of selection that allow you to be more focused when you do the control. Any question with the layer? Okay, next thing is there is something called the oh, sorry. Okay, this is just a picture of the pulpit layer. You can see this particular layer we set with 3 mics. So usually the pulpit only use 1 mic here. This is the 1 mic for this. For demonstration purposes, we have used for some other occasion that we use the wireless mic as well. So we put 2 wireless mics in there. Usually, the final layer for just a EM worship, we should only have one mic. So just to keep things simple. You see, another thing is there is one called the IDCA. If you have more than 1 channel available, you can group them and have a main control assigned to it. So this guy here is actually the main control for that. And if you move this guy, everything will move relatively for that group. So like if you have let's say if you're going to do, let me go to the next one. Go to the band, for instance. The band usually will have at least 2 mics or sometimes 3. So if you move the orange one, the fader on the orange side, the whole group will move relatively to each other. So once you set let's say you have a background vocal at a lower volume and so on and so forth, after you set the relative setting, and this guy controls the actual volume. So it's a lot easier for you to control it. Same thing with the instrument. This group here is like we have 4 instruments, the piano, guitar, and things like that. And this the last one here is a group setting. Basically, you can just do a group control. We also throw in the PC. Sometimes we want to control the PC mix. Together. We just leave it there. So another thing that we want to, anyway, by the way, any question that you want to clarify at this point? No, the layer is very simple to modify. That's what this app is doing. By the way, this app is fully configurable so that we can do our own configuration that is actually matched to our configuration. Let's say once we're done for the EM, upstairs for the sanctuary will be different, but we can modify it very easily using this app so that you have two different configurations. Yeah. Well, you can save your configuration basically using this software. Once it's saved, you can just recall it. So what we will do is we will set it up ahead of time. Let's say we have like one for EM, one for MM, and one for CM. We each save it to whatever the file name that you're going to call it. Usually I call the baseline version, let's say EM00. That is the baseline version. So whenever you have problem, just like I was having problem there, I just go to the restore and we call it the baseline version. Okay. Next thing is something that is more for setup is gain. That is the button on the left-hand side called gain. When you press that, you are almost changed from a control mode to a setup mode, because setting up the gain is not something that you want to change during your session. You control your level through the fader. The gain should be set ahead of time before you start your your session. Once the gain is set right, then you do all your control through the fader. Okay, that's something that you should really do, and I will go through the gain control later on. But the main thing is, once you press the gain, all the slider that you see at the bottom here becomes setting up the level of the gain, and it's not setting up the level going into the left-right mix. So it's actually going into a different mode. So it could be very confusing. I mean, later on I will explain a little bit more about the whole signal the flow, then you will see better. But remember, the gain is, once you press that, the fader is no longer the fader. Yeah? Well, you see, if you remember on your analog board, the first button is called gain or trim. Yeah. 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 So that is exactly the same function. That's why it's called the same thing. It's called gain. Gain is the PM setup of the soundboard. Basically, you want to set it to a reasonable level. And then from that reasonable level, then you use your fader to control it, okay? This is very critical. Well, this is your setup sequence, basically. Your gain is your setup sequence. I mean, we should actually do it every time for every channel. Because, let me give you an example. If you change the instrument, let's say, to a different instrument, the gain level will change. You cannot use the same. Or they may be the same, but you have to find out exactly how loud that instrument is, okay? The same thing for the mic. If you go from one, let's say from a Sennheiser to a Shure mic, the gain is different. You have to reset it again. You have to basically go to the back and try to see the response of that mic to make it to the level that you want. And you want to make sure every mic have the similar output like from the audience point of view, right? I will go through the gain setting at the end of the second session. Once you get into the gain mode, you can see the button is highlighted in green, the boundary. That means the gain is selected. So you have to press it again to deselect it to get back into your normal control mode, okay? That's something that you should really remember. Another one is the mute groups. The mute group is just the group that you set to mute like a number of channels as a group. So what we do is we have designated pulpit, so that we mute all the pulpit mic. With the band vocal, we mute all the mic for the band, and for the instrument, we mute all the. So that it was one easy way to mute everything using one button. This allows you to do the individual mute as well. So that's why you can see all this button here. I think you have to get use of the color coding. You know when is it selected and when it's not selected. Okay, just to go through very quickly the typical flow of the processing. When the signal is flow from the left to the right, okay, you have the signal coming through the channel. There is one typical channel. The first thing that you have to do is you have to check the gain. Okay, that's what that is your preamp of your system, and if that level is not set right, that your entire sound channel is going to screw up. So again, you should not change the gain during your session. This should be only during your setup. The middle blank blocks, I will go through that in later, but for this, if you just want to handle operate the sound system using this app, you do not change the setting of this couple one. The gate, the pre-EQ, and the compressor. Don't change it. Or if you need to change it, you should need an AV guy to do it for you. Okay? You just use the default. Don't change it. The only thing when you're operating as an operator, the only two things that you should change is the gain and the fader. The gain is only in setup mode, and after that is only the fader. Okay? That's all. You shouldn't change anything else. So from the fader, it will go to the left-right, which is the main soundboard output. So these are the components that you will see. You have to investigate if there is no sound coming out of the system, just like what happened to us. You see, the other thing is the console interface is really bad. the design is really bad. It's very hard to track down things. That's why hopefully getting used to the app will help you to smooth out all your the control. Okay, this is the main reason we're going for it. This is a much better interface and much easier to learn and to control. Okay, I was thinking of setting up a troubleshooting scenario, but I think we did that before. And the bigger question for, at least for as an operator, what happens when there is no sound? So you have to look at the right places to find it. But anyway, for now, I will just see if you have any question, and then we can actually play with it a little bit, have some hands-on experience with the app. So right now, I will take questions and see if you have anything, and then we will start the software again. I will use the Mac just for the next couple of weeks until we have the new soundboard on the Sanctuary. I intend to take this to the Sanctuary for your future control. Here we're gonna control it from the one computer. I don't think we need more than one computer to control it, but this will be used for. I'm hoping I will leave this here and then bring it to the Sanctuary for your standalone control in the future. Yeah, you're going to play the sound from the computer, for instance. The sound, at the PC right now, the PC channel is actually connected. When I was playing the music there, I was testing it. Yeah, that was coming through from there. You see, the good thing about this app is really once you set it up and save the configuration, you don't have to worry about again. It's not that console is very difficult to track down the different scenario. I remember that the no sound happened to me a couple times before. Faith reminded me. No, that because we have been the configurations have been changing. Okay, when we were having the computer there, the connection have changed. Right now, we are actually using a hardwire from the rough-in connection going to the soundboard. Before, the computer was using the USB interface, the digital interface. I think your Sanctuary will use the USB because it's a lot better interface. But right now we are using the speaker output or the headphone output from the computer and go through the rough-in connection and go through that box there. So because of the changing of the configuration, sometimes you will, well, you will have this hiccup. Okay, if not, then we're gonna move on to the second section. Okay, I want to. This is more about the setup, the theory operation of the whole soundboard. Okay. So you can see the diagram above there is has the basic flow. Okay. The gain or the trim is a PM setup. You set up the PM level basically. Okay, the next thing is the gate. The gate is a threshold of signal when you use, especially for mic, mainly for mic. You don't it's not that bad for instrument, but for mic, you can hear sometimes when people are handling using the hand, passing along, and you can hear the bang, bang, bang. That is because when you're using the analog signal have no such feature. The gate is only work from a digital mixer. So it will actually detect the signal, and it only turn on the signal when you think there's people speaking into the mic. So the signal has to be high enough for it to turn on. So before that signal, let's say that is so many dB of signal, below that it will just shut off the mic. Just say if I touch this, you see you don't hear anything, right? Because the gate is actually working. Okay, right now you can see I turn on the focus on the gate. You can see sometimes when I don't speak, the red light on the right-hand bar turn on. When the red line turn on, I can put that into. Let me see if I can. No, that's okay. I think I can do it from here. Just hang on. Oh. Okay. Who's this guy? Okay, is this one? A little bit. This one I was playing with it and it changed. It's supposed to be the same at the end. Let me see. Thấy không đó? 係啊，我都睇唔到。呢個得㗎，呢個唔係，呢個先係機。Okay, see, when I don't speak, like right now, you can see the red bar came up, right? Whenever the red bar came up, that means the system automatically turn off the mic. It do it very quickly. Only when you hear, like, let's say if I go here, right now if I speak, you can see the red, right? So when the level is low, like this, you don't hear the banging on the mic. Only when you are getting close and it will turn on. They will actually turn on the mic now to just let. It's a lot better than before, than the analog mixer that you can always, when people pass a mic to another, you hear the bang, 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 and things like that. So it is a lot better. And this is adjustable, but we're not going to adjust it. We are using the factory default to set it for mic. They have mic setting for specific mic, like Sennheiser and Shure and things like that. We haven't got that. I can load those mic setup later on, but right now I think what we do, just the default is good enough, okay? So this is something very critical for as a digital mixer, okay? So the next thing is the equalizer. I think most of you are familiar with the equalizer. Basically, it's a whole frequency spectrum. So you can see the bar, it very represents the signal. It's the signal that comes from the entire frequency band. You can see the red portion, because again, this is using their default setting. The default setting is basically cut off the lower end because for better sound effect, and our hearing doesn't really go that low. So you can see the red region. Those are all being cut off. And then you can see the green line is slowly turn on and then become level. Right now, this is I'm using a default setting for the EQ. You can have a very specific setting for something like a male vocal or female vocal, but that's something that we can fine tune later on. But right now, this is what we are using. Again, we are not going to change the EQ. I mean, unless you know what you are doing, I don't suggest we change that, okay? The next block, which is, again, is super critical, is the compressor. It is a signal limiter that cut the signal, or not cut the signal, but tone down the signal when the signal becomes too strong, okay? Okay, this guy, you can see there's a spike and spike. And you can see the curve there, like is kind of a straight line, linear, and then kind of taper off at the top end. What that is when the curve become bent, that's the time that when the signal is getting too high. So at that point, the system will know how to start cutting off the signal. How much you cut off, it depends on how you want to set it up. So when you see the big circle, the first circle on that line, that is actually the starting point of it cutting. That means the signal is reaching very high at that point. So if your signal is above that line, basically you can set it that to do a kind of a ratio of 2 to 1 or 3 to 1, so that you can actually like tone it down. The reason is you don't want feedback on your system. When the signal is getting too high, if you do like a 2 to 1 or even 3 to 1 or 4 to 1 cut, that means your signal is drastically reduced, and you will not have feedback. And this is one of the key features to prevent feedback during the session. Okay, so this again is the analog mixer doesn't have this feature, and it's only have the digital. So again, it's very useful feature, and whatever the setting here, I got those couple knobs there. We don't change it. We just use the default. But this is something that we definitely use it for mic, and it depends on the instrument, and we will use some of them in the instrument as well. But it definitely helps to cut down the feedback or the possibility of feedback. Okay, the next thing is the fader control. With the fader, which is the, like you all very know when you're familiar with the analog, it just controls your volume level. Okay, getting to something more complicated. Our mixer has 16 channels, plus some auxiliary thing. So this is one, what you see right now is usually is just 16 channels of control. And it all default to the left and right. So that it is called the system mix. So from each of the channel, you go to all combine whatever you selected into the main output, which is at the end is the speaker, okay? So this is one mix, or what we call a single mix. And then this system allows you to have many mixes. And you can have multiple mixes of the exact same channel, or different combination, or different setup on each of the channel. So basically it's a three-dimensional matrix that you can set up your individual channel to a different configuration or levels. So what that is if you, like we don't have it here, but if you remember the sound board up there, you have the bass, you have the monitor output, and you have some other output as well. All those are the one of the mixes, okay? So you likely, if we go to the upstairs, you're likely gonna use at least 2, 3 more. Let's say for here, we may want to use a mix especially for Zoom or for YouTube. Then if you want to control, let's say certain, like let's say the audio quality may not be so good going there, so that you may want to do some adjustment, and that is what you do from here. Because each of the mix, the way that it is done is separately. So each of the matrix that you see here is all independent. So you have to dial your screen control from one mix to another mix, so that to control the each of the setting, because each of the setting is all independent. So this is one part of the most confusing part. you are using one fader interface, but you have to go through many different mixes. Then sometimes you get confused easily. And I will show you. So that's why with this software, I can control how many things are being displayed to the operator. So let's say for the EM configuration, I will only have the left-right mix available. So we will not have the other mixes that you can go into. So this, by changing the fader control, you will only change the one mix, the main mix. Okay? If we do go to set up something different for Zoom or for recording or for whatever purposes, then we are adding in. But this software allows us to just disable all the rest. Okay? Because if you look at the analog soundboard, it's quite confusing when they look at the whole rows and things like that on it. It is kind of confusing. This by far is the worst part here. But we don't need to deal with it because we can hide it until we, like when we go to the sanctuary, we have to set up the base and we have to set up the monitor. We may have to set up the monitor for here too, but we haven't get to there yet. We are thinking of buying the in-ear monitor for them. But like when we do, then we turn on the mix for the in-ear monitor. Right now we don't, but we may want to because I know for upstairs your sound output is very low. So you may want to set up a mix and then so that you can boost the output to YouTube to make it a higher level. So I may want to do that here too. But here I'm using the old output, actually the output that goes into the headphone, because the good thing about this QPAC, it has a knob to level control for the output. So I'm using that to go to YouTube. And then we can crank that up as we like so that we have a control there. But essentially, I think the mix should be controlled by exactly the same thing here. Any question here? It is the most confusing part. Just as I said, each of component for each of the mixes can be different. Okay, so and then there is something called the pre-fader and post-fader. That means to tell the system where you want to inject the sound from that particular component. That's even more complicated. I don't want to get into that. So you can take the sound from a different point and inject to the system, so to suit your needs. Let's say for a monitor, for people who want to hear their instrument and vocal, they may not want to have the same control as the main board. They want to maybe have a raw sound, meaning it's actually before your fader control to go into the phone, the headphone. So that is something that the system allows you to do that, but it will be getting very confusing too. Okay. Yeah, those pre-fader. Yeah, so they by default they are They had the analog, because they have limited way to control it, so they designated certain channel to be pre-fader. Yeah, and then post-fader. Yeah, so you can act. Yeah, so that's how they do it. But this, you can actually do it, and then you can do it on individual channel, and you can do it like a whole lot of things. Up to you how to do it, because it's all just it's just software, right? Okay, the next thing I just want to go through the very important is the gain setup, because that is it's gonna affect the whole performance of your system. So before you start your system, you should go through this procedure every time. I mean, if we are lazy or pressed on time, you can reuse the setting from previous like session. That's okay. But if your mic change, if your instrument change, you should do this. But I assume that you should do that. As a general check, you should do that too. I mean, the way to do it is you should do it to every channel and one channel at a time. You cannot have the full band running and do the gain. It's impossible. The reason is you want to take the channel and establish the sound level of that channel with no other interference. So you should shut off everything else and do one channel at a time. Okay. See, when I press the gain button, this is no longer in the fader mode. It is actually called the gain control mode. So here is actually changing. See, this is the slider here is the actually am I okay, there you go. So when I change this, you can see the knob here got changed. That is changing the gain, not the fader, okay? So it just imagine you have the preamp, you have the volume control on the preamp, and you have the power amp. Again, not all the power amp like that, but you have volume control of the power amp. So the fader is actually the volume control on the power amp, and this is the volume control on the preamp. So usually minus 40 dB is quite a reasonable setting for a mic. Anyway, you should go through this one at a time and just look at the checking and see whether it's reasonable. However, there are, based on the different instrument, like the PC will have a very different level. The PC, I think right now is only minus 20 something dB. But for mic is like usually minus 40 is the right number. But again, the way to set it up is, let me go back here. Okay, once you're before you actually go to the gain mode, you want to set all your channel and your left and right fader to unity. That's very critical. So they are all set to unity, and then you want to adjust the gain to the maximum. What we want to do is you then go to the gain setup mode and go to this, the Pacific channel, and you gradually move the gain up until you hear the volume level is a little bit on the loud side, because you want to have the fader control, the dynamic range on the fader control adequate for you to control the entire spectrum. So you want it, when it's at unity, you want it to be something a bit loud. Okay? Yeah, the unity is when you are on the main mix mode. Okay, don't go into the gain control mode and then set the unity. Like I said, once you are in this is not the fader control, the fader level. This is the gain level. So you should do that before you press the gain button. So you set everything into unity. So the first thing first, you set all your level to unity. And then you go into gain. And then you go through one by one to adjust and slowly turn up your gain. And after that, you don't touch it. If you need to boost up the volume, you do it on the fader afterwards. Okay? Okay, so the main thing is the gain is correct when you have the volume level set to a reasonably loud level. Because we can always compress it, we can always bring it down, right? But you don't want it to set it so that when you push up your fader level to the max, it's still too low. So when the fader level is at unity, then that is what is something is what we call the norm. Okay. One good thing about this is you can load and save configuration, both on the software and also on the mixer itself. So it will be a bit hard to see. Maybe I'll use this guy. So, maybe I use that there. Okay, let me go to the back. Oh, maybe Everett can do that for me. Okay, can you bring the screen up? Bring your... Yeah. Why don't you turn off the live of the EC worship? Is that a camera? Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, this is easy. Okay. Let's go back from here. You see from the mixer view, the top level is the menu buttons. And you can see there is the setup here. Once you get to the app setup. Okay, maybe bring it closer. No, change your tilt, yeah. Yeah. And zoom in. More and more, okay. Yeah. Focus, huh? Okay. Good. Yeah, 呢度都得啦，應該。唔係好清楚，唔緊要啦。Okay, once you are in the app setup, there's a file folder icon on the right. You press that. Here you can actually load or save your setting, your setup. I have a EM00, that is the default setup. That is our baseline EM configuration. You can load it. If you change anything, you can save it. Okay? So this you can, there are two buttons on the top called layers and layout. I'm not going to go through too much of it, but your layer is what we define the grouping of our channels. Like you see, I have pulpit, I have band and all, and that's what the button that you saw on my slide. You can add more, rearrange it, do whatever you want. So if you have a different configuration, let's say you have let's say a configuration called choir, and you can add that in for that configuration. It's really up to you how we're gonna change that. And it's quite easy to change, and we can always change that. The next thing is the layout. The layout, I can go through it a little bit. Okay, when I press edit on the layout, so the whole design can be changed. I can remap the entire screen if I wanted to. But this is like a very common layout that you will find. I'm not going to get too much into it, but this just gives us the flexibility of using it. Huh? Sure. Oh, you have it up? Okay, yeah, go to the top. Go to a layer. Right now we are layer, right? Yeah, you can see the layer. You have pulpit, you have band, and you have all. It's exactly the same here. I basically have the three replicated. Okay? Good. And then if you look at the button on the right-hand side, you have gain, and then you have mixes. The mix 1, mix 2, mix it. If you make that visible, you can press visible. Yeah. And this is how you enable the mix. Right now, I disable all the other mixes. so that you won't see the mixing of the other configuration. Just the left and right, the main mix. Yeah, if you enable that, you click that, and you go out from the top left. No, you don't need to do that. Yeah, go back out. You can see on the left-hand side, below gain, there is one called Mix 1. That means it is enabled. So before, Edward, can you click on Mix 1? When you click on Mix 1, right now, this is no longer the left and right mix anymore. This is the whole configuration for Mix 1. Just like when I've gone through the three-dimensional matrix, this one is totally independent. Let's say this one, we want to set it to zoom, okay? We can have a different quality of sound and different way for different channel to go into that Mix 1. Okay? That's how easy we can change. So we only enable it when we need to. When we go to Mix 1, I'm not too sure if you guys can, don't press it yet. If you go to the top, the bar next to the pulpit, you can see it's called Mix 1. It's no longer called L and right, left and right. Because this mix is now Mix 1. It's a completely different route now. And then if you look at the top right left-hand corner, the top left, you can see the mixer view. The mixer view have changed to Mix 1 as well. So this is we are switching to a whole different configuration that we are looking at. You guys understand? Because this is the most confusing part, and this is how we we want to make sure everybody understand. Whatever is displayed on this bar here, on the right-hand side, that is what they call the bus master. They call this mix a bus. A lot of people call this a bus, but it's kind of confusing. But they call this mix setup a bus. And the bus master is actually is equivalent to the left and right when we are on the system mix, but right now it's called Mix 1. And this is the output of this mix. So you are taking this output and you can send it to somewhere. And depend on the channel that you put it in, like you can connect it at the back of the output of the mixer. Okay, let me see what else. Yeah, I think that's about it for. Okay, yeah, you can just close this guy. Right now, why don't you bring the A10 mini control over, so that I can go through that. Yeah, okay. Okay, I just want to go through some of the control here. So this ATEM software, where the cursor is, have 4 channels of input, 4 HDMI. The first one we are not using. The second one is coming from the PC. Then is the camera, which is just turn on. Yeah, this is the camera, and then the other one is the pulpit, which is my computer. Okay. Basically, this is instead of having the multi-view on the system, we are actually directing the output direct to the projector. One thing that I want to show you is that we likely going to need is to do the picture-in-picture control. So the picture-in-picture control is not these guys. These are just the transition. If you go to the middle one, the button on air, when you press that, yeah, that is the picture-in-picture. So if you turn that on and off, yeah. What do you mean? Well, right now, by default, the picture-in-picture is taking the video from this guy. Oh, okay. Thank you. What you can do is, can you turn it off right now? Okay. Go to the, press that. No, actually, up. Yeah, this guy. The palette. Yeah, okay. And then you move down, go down. A bit more. Go down. Still more. Oh, no, here, that's okay. If you press A, here. No, don't set A. Just press A. Okay, turn on air first. Yeah. A is this, and then press B. And then 4. That's how you control the picture-in-picture at different sizes. So this, I pre-programmed this, and you can change it. The size of the picture-in-picture, and also how the position of A and B is all programmable. So you can change that if you want. Yeah. And then if you want to use another input, you can change it too. Yeah, you can press off air so that it will go. And then if you go up, go back up, the steering key right now is coming from camera, right? 3. You can change the picture-in-picture to a different camera HDMI input. Yeah, there's a pull down. Yeah, you can change it. So By this way, we are controlling the camera and the A10 Mini from the computer remotely. We don't even use the control button on the Mini itself. So this is actually quite a good thing. We are not using too much of the transition because we are not doing a video production or things like that, but the picture-in-picture is something that's useful for us, like during our worship time. Yeah, actually I can look at here. So just to go through it, the bottom layer is the preview. You can do the preview and then do the transition, but we are not going to do that. I think if you do in the sanctuary, it's something that you want to do, okay? But here we don't have that many monitor, and I think we want to make that mobile, so we want to keep it simple. Okay, so basically that is it. I think we have covered all that I want to cover. If you have any questions, let me know. But the main thing is, this is more a gradual learning process. I think you have to really play with it to learn. And the system is here so that you can play with it before you actually go back to upstairs and try it out. By the way, what I would like to do is, I would want to make the sanctuary configuration almost the same as this. So we're going to rearrange the channel later on after we work with the MM and CM, and then we decide how we're going to lay out the channel, and then we're going to possibly make it very similar so that you don't have a big transition when you move down to here to control this. Okay.